Welcome back, and thank you very much for staying with us. If you've just joined, you're watching Tenfold Live, which is a show that is proudly brought to you by Liberty. A big shout out to Liberty for sponsoring our show. We really appreciate this. And to you guys, it's created to help you to understand your math. This is the only assistance you probably can get outside of class and outside of your Saturday school. Whenever you need any additional help, send in your questions. Send them to us. Analytical geometry, grade 12. We are doing that this week. We're focusing on analytical geometry. Take yourself a video and you stand a chance to win awesome prizes if you just do exactly what I said to you. We are continuing with analytical geometry, but as we always say, we always have one question that is an off-topic question, which we call the wild card. This is where we give you the opportunity to send us anything, because we understand that you guys are not doing the same things at your schools. Maybe some of you are ahead, maybe some of you are a little bit behind, so you want to send us a question that is like off what we are doing on that particular week. So we call it the wild card. You can send those through as well. And our wild card this week, today to be specific, comes from Akona. Let's go check out what Akona had to say.
Hello guys, my name is Akona Mbuto from Kukulesizwe High School, and I have a problem with this question. Can you please help me? Thank you.
Right. Okay. Well, Akona, that's a very nice question. Thank you very much for sending it. Two things that are very important here. Number one, Akona is already doing stats, right? The stats that you're about to see, guys, you don't have to panic. For your junior exams, right, unless if you are from a private school, those of you who are from public schools, you won't be writing on regression and those kinds of concepts. You'll be writing on your grade 11 stats. Remember this, in paper 1, we were not taught this year algebra. It's there in your exams. You were taught patterns, they are coming back. You were taught inverse functions, but even the functions or graphs from grade 11 are coming in full force now. You also were not taught financial maths. It is coming in full force. So you need to revise financial maths, you need to revise probability, you need to revise algebra from grade 11, because they will also be in your paper 1 for your June exam. But the regression that you will see here, which is statistics, it's stats, data handling, it is not necessarily going to be in your paper 2. The stats that is going to be there is the stats from grade 11. So what you are going to see now, don't worry about it. If you haven't seen it before, you might freak out and think it's complicated. However, I will do it such that when you see it again in future, you don't have to listen to anybody saying it. You'll just be able to remember and actually ace this thing. Very easy. Let's look at it. Right. It says to us, a men's shoe store conducts a survey from a representative sample of regular customers to see ages of customers against the amount they spend monthly on shoes. The results are tabulated below. All right, so there is a table that gives us data. It's basically age versus the amount of money that is spent. A very interesting thing that you'll see here is the data is actually not a lot. The regular customers are not a lot because this is men's store. But if it was women, we'll probably need the whole show to just analyze this data. But anyway, we are not there, we are here. Okay, fine. It says to us there, the first question says to us, you can see clearly there's the age of the customers and the amount of money they spend. You'll even see that it's not a lot of money because women don't buy a lot of shoes anyway. But then it says to us we need to use a calculator. Use your calculator to determine the regression line which best fits the given data. Round off your answer to 2 decimal digits where necessary. So the regression line, this line that they're talking about, the regression line that you're looking at here is basically a straight line that best fits the data. If you may allow me, just to help you if you haven't seen this before, there's something called the scatter plot which you will draw that will have age on one axis and it will have money on the other axis. So it will have the amount of money. When you plot those points you see there, they'll probably make like some dots there, which is basically what we call the scatter plot. You get a scatter plot that will emerge here when you plot those points, 18 versus 330, 21 versus 300, 23 versus 300. And then these lines don't necessarily form a perfect straight line. However, we can try to forge some line here to best suit this data so that we can be able to make sense of what the story is here. And this is called the regression line, or the line of best fit. This regression line, right, has a very nice equation. It's a straight line. So it has the equation y equals a plus bx. So what we are dealing with here is not what you guys normally work with in stats. You normally work with grouped data or ungrouped data, but it's only a single variable. Here we are dealing with 2 variables at the same time, and we call this bivariate data. So one variable on the x-axis, one variable on the y-axis. You can draw them and try to see how they influence each other. Maybe the older the men, the less money they spend, or I don't know. We'll just see from what we are getting out of this. All right, so now it tells to us we need to use a calculator to find the equation of this. Now, to find this equation, I always tell people this. You don't need to do a lot, guys. You just don't need to do a lot. Just type in all this information and find me something that I call the 7 parameters of regression. The 7 parameters of regression are 7 things. It's basically the A. I want you to find something which is called the B. I want you to find the R. I want you to find the mean of the X values, which is the H. I also want you to find the mean of the Y values. I want the standard deviation of X. I also want the standard deviation of Y. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You will never hear this anywhere else. You find the 7 parameters of regression, and then you use them to answer all the questions. Why am I saying this? I want you to touch your calculator once. I want you to touch your calculator once, type in all the data there, and then retrieve the answers. Any question they'll ask you will emerge from these 7 parameters of regression. Okay, let's see what will happen now. I'm gonna take out my calculator and try to type this information. So for you to be able to work on this, you firstly need to go to stats. We're doing stats now, right? We are going to do stats. So I need to go to mode. You press mode. There's your stats, which is option 2. When you press option 2, the option that you normally pick when you are dealing with stats from grade 11 is option 1 minus variance, where we are dealing with just one variable. But we're dealing with 2 variables based on what I just told you regarding the equation. This equation that you see here at the bottom, the equation that you see here, this one, you can clearly see that for us to be able to get ourselves there, we need to pick option 2, A plus BX, for the regression line. So I'm going to select option 2 instead of option 1. It will give you 2 variables, variable X and variable Y, which is where you're going to now insert all the values that you see here and try to see what the data is going to actually amount to. So the first number is 18. Enter. And remember, enter, you always press equal to when you want to enter a particular number. The second X value is 21. Don't worry about those zeros you see on the Y column. We're going to go and edit them. Y is 21. X is 21. The third value is 23. Right, the fourth value is 25, right, the fourth, 1, 2, 3, 4, value number 5 is going to be 30, which I'm inserting now, right, after 30, you'll basically see there's 32, after 32, there's 36, after 36, there's 38, and then after 38, there's 39, right, after 39, the last number there is 45. Just after you have entered all those 10 values of X, you then press the right arrow and then go back up. You can actually go down. If you press the down arrow, it takes you straight to the first value, which is number 1. On the far left there, you'll see the first value you entered for X was 18. What does it correspond to? We want to know what it corresponds to. It corresponds to 330. So I'm going to keep inserting all of them. So 330, enter. The next number is 300. Enter. The next number is 300 as well. Enter. And then we've got 240. There's 240, enter, right. So if you continue further, there's 250, there's 250, enter. After that, we've got 190, there's 190, right. You'll see they correspond, 36 corresponds with 180, there's 180, enter that. And then we've got 310, right. And then after that, we've got 150, and the last value on our table is 120. You'll see it's the 10th value, which tells you that we actually have meshed our X values with our Y values. Just put them all into the calculator. The calculator will do the rest for you. We want to retrieve those 7 parameters of regression. I call them the 7 parameters, 7 things that will answer any question they'll ask you on this particular concept. So now I'm going to press AC on my calculator because I've successfully inserted my data. And if you want to access all those things, you just press Shift and then you press Stats on button 1. When I press this, there's a lot of great options that are emerging there. The one I'm looking for is option 5, REG, for regression. That is where a lot of my information lies. So I'm going to press 5. There's A, there's B, and there's R. I want those things. So I'll push 1. When I push 1, it gives me a value of 434,47. Right, let's write that down. 434, there's your 434, what is that? Well, quickly. We need to know it's 47, right? 47. I want to store this in my calculator here because I might need it. Shift store in, right? So let's get the previous answer. This is the answer we got. I'm going to say Shift store the answer in A. I just inserted this in A in case I need it with future calculations. The next thing I want is B. Let's go again. Shift, stats, regression. B is number 2. 2 equal to negative 6,43. Right, I'm going to write that, negative 6,43. All right, which I'm going to also store is Shift, store this one in B. The next one I need is R. This R is the correlation coefficient. They might ask you for this. We don't know what they're asking. So I'm going to go shift, stats, and regression. Number 3. There's number 3 again. I get negative 0.77. Okay, fine. So I'm going to write that negative 0.77 is my R value. Now I need the mean value of X values. Let's go shift, stats. I'm not going to go to regression anymore. I'm going to go to variance. So 4, which gives us number 2, and that's 30.7. So I'm going to write that 30.7, and the last one here is shift stats. Variance is 4. Then we want the mean of Y values, which is number 5. And then this is going to be 237. So 237. These are just standard deviations, which somebody might ask you about them. So if you find all 7 of these things, they will actually be able to help you to work out what the answer is. So the question is asking us for the equation. The equation. Like I said, the equation is just Y equals to A plus BX. So I'm going to write it Y equals to A plus BX. What is my A value from this information? 4,34. So 434. Let me write it here. So Y equals to, the A value is 4.34,47. The B value is minus 6,43x. Simple, not complicated at all. We're going to go to the second part of this question. It is asking us to determine the correlation coefficient R. Like I said, the correlation coefficient R is already worked out in this question. So your R value is simply what we found in the previous step. You don't need to recalculate it. If you look there from my 7 parameters, there's my R, negative 0.77. There it is there, negative 0.77. I'm just going to write it here, negative 0.77. Question done, quickly, just in a few seconds. The next one is asking us to predict how much money a 16-year-old will spend on this. Now remember, the equation is Y equals to, let's go back to it and try to see what will happen. It is Y equals to 434.47. Right, 434.47. It's 434.47 minus 6 point something, if I'm not mistaken. Quickly, it's basically minus 6.43x. Right. 6.43x. So we are told here, remember X is the age. This is what is represented by age. So they want to know a 16-year-old will spend how much. Simply just substitute that 16 for your X value there. What will happen is Y equals to 434.47 minus 6.43 into the value of X, which is 16. We're going to predict what the answer is going to be by just substituting this in our calculator. Let's call back what we substituted here. Remember, I stored my first answer of A in A. I stored B also in B, so I can actually use them. I can say A plus B, open bracket, and then X is 16. Just substitute 16 here. And then it says 331.55. That is how much that person will spend. 331, right? 331. Is it 33 or 31? Quickly. It is actually 31.56, yes. 331.56, you are required to round off to the nearest, to 2 decimal places. A very nice question indeed. It does touch on stats, which is basically regression. It's a concept that most of you will see in term 3, but don't worry about it. I hope you learned a lot from this and you understand what is going on. Don't go anywhere. We still have got a lot of analytical geometry coming your way. Do stay with us.